Okay, if I have these x values, x is 2, x is 3, and x is -1, I first need to write these as factors, right? So, what is the factor for x equals 2? X minus 2. And what's the factor for x equals 3?
X minus
3. And then the last one is?
X plus 1.
Okay. So, that's step 1, write them as factors. Step 2, now I'm going to take these two and I'm going to multiply them together. So when I do that, I get x squared minus 3x minus 2x plus 6. So I get x squared minus 5x plus 6 times x plus 1. Everybody with me so far? Okay, when you have a trinomial, so 3 terms times 2 terms, I don't want you trying to distribute them. I want you to write it in the box, or on the outside of the box, I mean. So I have x squared minus 5x and a 6, and then I've got an x and a 1. X times x squared is x cubed. X times -5x is -5x squared. X times 6 is 6x. 1 times x squared is x squared. 1 times -5x would be -5x, and 1 times 6 would be 6. And I just combine like terms, so I've got an x cubed minus 4x squared plus x plus 6. Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is it 4x squared?
Because it was...
Oh, yep, I see it now.
Okay, 1. Okay, so there's 2 things we're doing today with our new lesson. And you know how to do both of these two. Well, you don't know the graphing part. You kind of do. You know most of it. But we're going to write an equation from a graph. So far you guys have written an equation from your x values. So to write an equation from a graph, you're just going to look at the graph, pick out where it's crossing the x-axis, and then start where we just did for the bell ringer.
So these ones go like this?
Yeah. They've got multiple terms. And then we're going to graph polynomials, given the zeros and the end behavior.
Wow.
So this is 5.2 part 2. And we're going to call this, we'll just do graphing polys. Because that's the real new thing for today. So I'm going to attempt to draw us a pretty graph. It'll be great. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's close to what our bell ringer was. So, and we may not go through this whole example. If everybody felt good with the bell ringer, did you? Yes?
So that's
Okay.
literally
So it's literally exactly the same thing, except you're going to look at the graph and you have to come up with what your x equals. So here x equals -2, here x equals 1, and here x equals 3. So now you're to where we started with the bell ringer, and you write them as factors and start multiplying. Do I need to do this problem?
No.
You guys good with this? So now we're just back to where we started. So you would start here and write this as a factor, x plus 2, x minus 1, and then x minus 3. And you'll do exactly what we just did, where you multiply and multiply. Good with that? I can, when we get to these in the homework, if you need extra help, I can help you. But I think you guys are going to be fine. Let's go on to the new stuff, the brand new stuff today, which is graphing. So if I give you, let me find number 2, there it is. Something like this. X cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12. And we're going to graph this. So I'm just going to say y equals. When you're graphing polynomials, here's the first thing you have to figure out. You have to find the zeros. So that means you're going to solve for x. means I'm thinking of this whole thing as being set equal to 0. And we're going to solve for x. And we're going to solve for x by, starts with F and rhymes with actor. We're going to have to factor to get our factors, and then you're going to set each factor equal to what? 0. Good. So when you have 4 terms, you're going to factor by grouping. My first group, looks like I can take out an x squared, leaving me with x minus 3. And what can I take out of my second group? Negative 4, leaving me with x minus 3. So I have x squared minus 4. And I have an x minus 3. What can this factor down to? X plus 2, x minus 2. Good. And then you have your x minus 3. And what am I going to do with each one of these factors? Set them equal to 0. When you do that, you're going to come up with your x values. So here we have x equals negative 2. Here we have x equals 2. Everybody see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
So I'm skipping over writing that out. And here I have x equals 3. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, so here is what, and we kind of talked about this the first day we started this section. I showed you what we were getting toward, and today we're going to do it. So we're going to plot these 3 points to start. So I have x is negative 2, x is 2, and x is 3. Everybody good with that? Well, we have to look at what our end behavior is going to be. So we're going to go back to our original, which is right here. Sorry. So our end behavior is going to be an odd positive. What's odd positive? Down, up. You're going to end positive. You know odds go in 2 different directions. Because it's positive, you're going to end positive, so you're going to go down, up. So over here at my graph, I'm going to go, my far left one, I'm going to have it go down. My far right one, I'm going to have it go up. Now, here's where you have to look before you just draw your squiggly. We're not going to plot points between and make it very exact. So we are just going to sketch. But you have to make sure you don't have a multiplicity of 2. So we kind of talked about when you get the same thing. If you just have a multiplicity of 1, you go through each point and you can just draw your, oh, that's not very good. But you can just draw your squiggly through each one. And this would be your answer.
What if it's up?
This one wouldn't be. If it's up, then you have a bounce, which goes into my next example. When you have a multiplicity of 1, meaning you have this just one of each of your zeros, you just go through it, go through each 0. And it'll work out. Okay? But let's math it up just a little bit. I'm going to show you the bounce. It's going to be exciting. So I want you guys on your paper to find the zeros of this graph. So we'll say 0 equals x cubed minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 8. I want you guys to factor this and solve for your x's. And I'm going to give you a hint. This was an example the other day. So if you see it if you're on the same page of notes, you'll see it.
What is that?
Drugs.
I don't think
Is
it's
that a
drugs.
charger?
I think it's a charger.
It's a vape.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Okay. Are you guys done with this?
Yeah.
Okay, stop talking, please. Okay, I'm going to start mine up here so we can compare our work. So I start with x squared minus 4 and x minus 2. And we just had this a minute ago. It factors down to x plus 2, x minus 2. So I have x plus 2, x minus 2, and x minus 2.
You got multiplicity.
I took an x squared out of the top.
Oh, you haven't solved it to 0 yet.
No, I haven't. So here I have x is equal to negative 2. Hey, shh. X is equal to 2, and x is equal to 2. I'm going to have to move you now, Carson. You've been backwards the whole day.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sophomore.
stop. You were inappropriate, and I recorded all of it, so good job. So, okay. So, look here. I've got this right here is a multiplicity of 2. It changes the graph. When you have a multiplicity of 1 or 3 or 5, which we're not going to have that many in Algebra 2, it doesn't change the graph. So an odd multiplicity, which for you guys will only be probably 1, if you have an even multiplicity, it changes the graph. And here's what happens. And maybe you can figure it out based off of our end behavior. We have x is equal to negative 2. And we have x is equal to 2. Those are my only two zeros. What is my end behavior for this odd positive? Down, up. So I'm going to be going down on my far left, and my far right, I'm going to be going up. If we were to try to do what we did before and just go through, you can't get to that. Like, it doesn't work the same. So what happens when you have a multiplicity of 2 is it is a bounce. So it doesn't go through the x-axis. It touches it, and it bounces off and goes the other direction. Whoa. So this is my bounce right here, because that's where I have 2 of them. I have 2x equals 2. So what happens with this graph is it looks something like this, and it comes down, and it bounces off and goes back up. So anytime you have a multiplicity of 2, you're not going to go through that x-intercept. You're going to touch and go back up, which you'll be able to tell with your end behavior that there's something going on.
I don't know how to do it.
You don't know how to do what?
The behavior thing.
That's just that there's just a chart you need to get from somebody if you didn't watch that video. You need to have that written down.
Somebody on the chart.
See? You were gonna make me crazy today. Okay. Let me give you your homework. If we can go over this in class, I would like to, because there's like a 40% chance of 24 inches of snow.
Yeah.
I heard about. So, oh no, it's a worksheet.
24 inches?
That's what I heard.
Might be 60 if we get real bad.
60? 60?
Getting 2 feet of snow. That's
Do it, man.
Chase Nelson's like, every single thing. They skipped all the snow.
Then 2 feet of snow, you just fall.
Okay.
Building.
We're going to go over this at the end of class.